Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite and the world's favorite bearded man, Bob Bay. Back today for episode 7. Clap it up. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 7 deep. We are out here. It's day number 22 or 23 of this whole quarantine. I'm alive. I'm well. As you can tell, beard's getting a little grizzly. Hair's getting a little out of control, but we will survive. Just staying fit, you know what I mean? Trying to do my best with these in-home workouts 5 to 6 days a week. I've been working out in my kitchen with a towel. I've been working outside of my backyard. I've been running a little bit more. I've been just constantly trying to just lean into, can't go to the gym. So what are you going to do? You're going to make the best of working out at your house and using YouTube tutorials and just shifting it up a little bit. Doing my best to stay on some type of good dieting. Meal prepping, making good food for myself, and then limiting booze. I think in the first week of quarantine, I was definitely rationalizing, I can have a beer, a glass of wine every night. And then I was like, okay, this is not really good. My body was feeling it every morning when I wake up the next day and feel groggy and just unmotivated. So cut that back to just the weekends, Friday and Saturday, and just trying my best to build a structure that I usually live in before this whole quarantine, and just, you know what I mean? Just leaning into it and trying to make the best of it. And also too, trying to make sure that I order out at least once Uber Eats, got to support the Uber homies. I know restaurants and so many people in the service industry are hurting right now. And if there's ever a time to kind of rationalize eating out and ordering food to your house, this is the moment. And so I'm trying to do my part. And although I don't eat out a lot, mostly because I try to maintain some type of healthy diet, and a lot of that comes down to me making things. I'm trying to make sure that I at least eat out once or twice a week to kind of help put food on the table of other people, because I know people are hurting right now. And so, especially for my Uber folks out there, being a driver just 6 months ago, I feel like it got to do my part and help the Uber homies. But yeah, just been doing the best and staying home and following the guidelines, and back to podcasting. That's why we're here again, ladies and gentlemen, just leaning into it and trying to make use of this downtime instead of sitting on my ass. I did sit on my ass yesterday though, and watched 2 incredible movies, which I highly suggest you guys and gals check out in this downtime. Would be Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey, absolute legend, mind-blowing movie. Check it out. And then we also watched Moneyball last night with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill. 2 fantastic movies. Highly, highly, highly suggest you check it out. So before we get into today's podcast, quick reflection on last week. We had episode 6, reaching my highest potential, 6 daily reminders that kept me going, which was a hit. Seems like people enjoyed it. Let's clap it up. We didn't hit our goal of 40 reviews on the podcast, which is okay, but we did hit 30. So, I'll take that. It's a small win, ladies and gentlemen. 30 is better than 29, so we'll take it. And I wanted to give a quick shout out for the review of the week, who is Burn and T-Man. Not sure who that is or who that user is, but you're the review of the week. And if you're hearing this, know that I thank you. He said, and the subject of it, all value, no BS. That's true. All value, no BS. That's what I try to create through this podcast. And his review was, Bob Bay is the definition of a hustler and is constantly on the grind. He has given value to my life constantly through IG, his previous podcast, Purpose in the Youth, and now this podcast. Give him a shot, because taking part of his work ethic and listening to his advice and story will impact you for the better. Burn and T-Man, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast and leave a review, and also follow me on Instagram and supporting Purpose in the Youth. It's amazing to see you've transferred all the way over to the podcast. So know that I thank you for taking the time to listen. And so that was the review of the week. If you want to be maybe next week, drop a review. Let's try to get 40 for next week. We're at 30 right now, but it'll grow with time. I'm not too worried. All right. So the big topic of today are the benefits that I'm finding in self-isolation. This whole quarantine, I'm leaning into it. I'm accepting it for what it is. And I've actually found value in this whole self-isolation. Just me, my roommates, and that's it, right? There's 3 of us that live at the content crib. Other than that, I know I see people on Instagram like casually seeing other people. I haven't been reaching out to anybody saying, yo, let's like hang out on the low. Like, no, I'm following the guidelines. I'm doing my part. I'm staying home. The only time I go outside is when I'm going for a run or a walk around the block or working out, and then to go to the grocery store. That's it. I'm not going outside other than that. I'm truly following the guidelines, and I'm just doing my part and what everyone should be doing and following these rules. And like I said, the best way to deal with everything that's happening is just lean into it. All right, we can't control this. I've already talked about this recently. You can't control the situation we're in. The only thing we control is how we react to it. And that's the best way to do it is just lean to it. And that's kind of what we're going through right now. I think most people that probably are listening to this podcast or see my content, you probably have a good understanding of who I am, right? I'm for sure a people's person. So you can imagine that being locked inside of my house all day, all hours of the week is driving me nuts. And it's driving my roommates nuts because I'm just sitting here, I'm talking out loud to myself. They think something is wrong with me. I need to get out. I need to see people. And so it's been tough, right? It's been tough for me, but I quickly realized, once again, can't control it, lean into it. And so I've just been doing what I have to do. What I've realized though is that when I think about a couple weeks ago before all this kind of went down, my life is like 85% with people and probably 15% by myself, right? 85% of my week, I'm out working, at work with people, grabbing dinner and drinks with somebody, hanging out with people. And then it's usually at the end of the day when I'm winding down, I go in my room by myself, watch some Netflix and pass out. It's like 85% of my week is around people, 15% is by myself. But when I think about how I've gotten to where I am today and the success I've had and the self-development I've had and the growth, it's actually 85, it's the reverse. It's 85% alone and 15% with people. So of that 85%, there's been so much time where it's like, I need to be alone. I need to not have any distractions. I need to read this book. I need to listen to this podcast. I need to take notes. I need to watch this interview. I need to watch this documentary and try to understand. I credit a lot of my own success and my own bearded man journey. 85% of that is because I'm by myself and I'm having the time to put in the work. And the 15% is being with people, networking and getting to know people and hearing their stories. But it's interesting, like when I think about it, my week is 85% with people, 15% alone time. But when I think about crediting my own success and my own journey, it's been the reverse. It's 85% alone and it's 15% with people. And I think that's really important. Because in the 85% of time when we're by ourselves for my own success, I try to ask myself these questions of like, am I happy with where I am today? Do I enjoy the direction of where my life is headed? If money was no issue, would I still be doing what I'm doing today? What are my career goals, personal goals? What does that bucket list look like? I ask these questions that are sometimes so scary to ask, but they need to be asked. And it's not about, do I have the answers for them? It's just, that's an interesting question that I should think about and kind of taking note and paying attention to as things happen in my life. You know, do I enjoy where I am today working as a content producer for Liquid IV and being able to create, content like this on the side? Yes. Do I enjoy the direction of where my life is headed? I have no idea where I'm going. I truthfully don't. My whole thing is like, it's like life is all these mini chapters. Right now I'm in this new chapter that started about 6 months ago, and I'm loving it and I'm embracing it. I'm not so like caught up in thinking about like how much longer is this going to last until I'm on to the next thing. I'm just enjoying it while it happens. But asking myself these questions constantly help me get a better understanding. Am I actually happy with where I'm at? Because we get so busy throughout the week, and then on the weekends we're doing this and that. And we have to slow down and actually ask ourselves these questions. And sometimes it can be tough, but we have to. We got to do it at some point. Otherwise, we're just like flowing with life with no real direction of where we really want to go. And like I said, I don't think it's about having the perfect blueprint, the perfect understanding of where you want to go. It's just kind of understanding like, what are your areas of interest? Do you like doing certain things? Do you like being around certain people? Once you have a firm understanding of what you do enjoy and the passions, then it makes it much more easier to make decisions in the moment. So when I think about the benefits of self-isolation, I think about it in 4 parts. There's 4 ways that I look at it. Number 1 is the reflection. It's a reflection period right now. And that's just solely thinking about the past and how I got to where I am today, right? And this is something that I know is going to be an ongoing process throughout my life. And even when I take the moment right now to talk about it, or before when I was kind of jotting out the notes for this podcast today, it's crazy when I think about like going all the way back to growing up in Chicopee, Massachusetts, like being raised by two incredible parents, having a younger sister, then going to Boston to college, right? Like that was a big leap for me. I was 18. I had grown up in the same house in the same city all my life. And I took a leap and went an hour and a half down the Mass Pike, and I went to college in Boston. And the amount of growth that I learned in those 4 years, the 18-year-old version of me to the 22 was two different people. And then after that chapter, it was another chapter of me like graduating college and starting driving Uber full time and starting a podcast and not knowing where that was going to take me. And then another chapter was moving to LA and trying to figure that out. And it's all these many chapters, but being able to stop and slow down and reflect and think about how much I've come, like what I've learned in this time, it's so, so crucial. And like I said, I just think our life is a bunch of mini chapters, and some are longer than others, some are shorter, but it's important to take note and not get caught up in living in the past, but taking those valuable lessons that we've learned and trying to carry that with us as we move forward. So some of the big lessons that I've learned in the last couple of years, or even just looking on my life, would be, all great things take time. Have patience. I mean, we've all heard it, but once you see it in your life happen before your eyes, you're like, okay, it takes a lot to build something great or to do something great. And the only way it's ever going to happen is having that patience. Next would be, you don't need to have it all figured out. None of us have it all figured out. I think personally I have a good sense of direction of where I'm going, but it's such an ongoing learning process. I never thought I'd be shooting a camera, and 5 months ago, this new opportunity with Liquid IV got me to pick up a camera for the first time, and I'm just leaning into it and I'm learning. Shoot your shot. You have nothing to lose. That is a big lesson that I've learned, that when it comes to anything in life, shoot your shot. You got nothing to lose. If you miss, get back on the line, shoot again. As somebody who wasn't great at playing basketball growing up, I did my best. I was a team player. I was there for the boys, trying to get everyone hyped. But I really, really, really have learned in life, I'm shooting my shot. And if it doesn't hit, shoot again and again and again. And that consistency of continuously showing up is so important. Another big lesson I've learned is there's no failures. If you learn something, I think we are afraid to start things, right? I've been afraid in my life where I don't know if this is the right thing, or like, I don't know if I should start this YouTube series, or what are people going to think? Or like, should I start like a Bearded Man University? Like, who's going to care about like these courses that these playbooks that I'm going to write? It's just always been a constant work in progress. And even if something doesn't go the way that I planned it for it to go, and it maybe doesn't generate X value that I thought it was going to generate, at least I tried. At least I took a shot, but there was no failure in it because there was always a lesson learned. Also, and then one of the biggest lessons that I constantly remind myself of, it is always a work in progress. Constantly reminding myself, I'm always a work in progress, right? Like even when I hit major successes in my life and my career, I tell myself, stay grounded, get back, enjoy this moment. Tomorrow's a new day. Get back to work, get back to putting in the grind. But it's constantly always a work in progress. And I talked about this last week, this whole idea of the reflection, part one of, the benefits of self-isolation. Talked about this last week in the last podcast. It's you versus you. This is the time to really think about what has happened to get you to where you are today. The good things and the bad things, like reflecting and using this time to just think about how you've gotten here and what values and lessons can you continuously carry with you. And just imagining who that person that we can become. Because when I think about all the things that have led me to where I am today, it gets me excited to think about where I'm going, which I'll get into shortly. But I think this downtime is a great time to slow down and reflect and think about all the things leading up to today and trying to understand and take these lessons and these values with us. Part two of the benefits of self-isolation would be focus. Focus on the present moment, where we are right now. We can't control the self-isolation quarantine right now. There's literally no point in stressing and getting worked up on it because everybody is in the same boat. Everybody's in the same boat. Nobody's allowed to do anything. Stay inside, stay indoors. It's none of our control. And so the longer we spend getting mad about it, getting anxious, getting worked up that we're not doing X thing that we should be doing in April, you're wasting time. You're wasting time on making progress in the actual current moment and focusing on something that you can do today. So it's all about being in this moment. This is the time that we get to invest in ourselves. And this is the time to really figure some things out. And I'll tell you what, the most beautiful thing about this right now, this is the one time in our lifetimes that FOMO is dead. The fear of missing out is long gone. You're not missing out on anything because everybody is doing the same thing. They're sitting inside, they're enjoying time with their family or whoever they live with. FOMO is dead. Embrace it and enjoy it, because this is the only time I think in our lifetimes that we're actually not going to be worried about missing out on something else, because everyone else is doing the same shit. We're all sitting inside, following the guidelines, following the rules. So embrace that FOMO is dead. Let's give it a round of applause. FOMO is dead. It has left the building. It'll probably be back soon enough, but let's enjoy it while it's gone. So how can we invest in ourselves? Focusing in on this very moment. There's a couple things we can put in the hours on something that we are really passionate about, or whatever our craft might be. Listen to podcasts, read books, soak up documentaries, and just learn. There's always more to learn. Like I said, it's always a work in progress within our own lives, but I think there's always going to be something new that you can learn. So keep pushing, keep trying to learn whatever it is that you're interested in. And what's really important is deciding to focus, right? And this is something that we can focus on this very moment, and figuring out how can we advance ourselves today. What are the things that we can learn? What book can we read? What podcast can we listen to? And I think the best ways to do that, even like when I was writing the script for this podcast, is turning off the phone, putting the phone on silent, putting on vibrate, turning off the television, cutting off all side distractions and just focusing on the moment. And this was something that I learned from a fellow bearded content creator by the name of Tyler Babin. He was a past podcast guest, incredible creative. And this was something that I learned from him, this idea of focus sprinting. And I think it was him that I learned it through. And I think there's a lot of people in the world that have preached this concept. But this idea of like putting down the phone, setting an hour, 30 minutes of like sprinting, right? Like no distractions, going all in, doing that thing that you want to do and not getting distracted, because we're always going to be wondering like what's going on Instagram. Like, should I answer that DM? Should I answer that tweet back? Like your phone, you're constantly going to be getting texts. Your email's always blowing up. Where the beauty and the curse is we're always in constant communication with people. But if you don't know how to balance that, like when to respond and when not to, that's when we get stuck and we're not able to make progress in our own lives. So that text can wait. That phone call can wait. Just focus on the moment by doing these focus sprints, like telling yourself what you want to do, put down the phone and just go all in. And honestly too, because of the focus sprinting and because of telling ourselves this is what I need to do right now, I've learned that it's not about the quantity of hours you put into something. It's actually about the quality. So just because you said, I say I put in 10 hours of work today, okay, but how many of those 10 hours were actually quality work? I've seen it in my own life where what I've done in 1 hour, I've also done in 4 hours. And it comes down to, the motivation, the juices are flowing. I'm not distracted. There's a lot of variables that help me like be super productive within that 1 hour versus the 4. And so the focus sprinting allows us to do that. It allows us to get things done more efficiently and better, and allows us to make progress. I'm all about those small wins every single day, counting up 1 to 3 small wins. It might not seem like a lot. It might be what seems to be small strides, but think of it in the sense of like, if we can get 0.5% better daily, imagine the person we're going to become. Imagine how much better we're going to get at the craft that we're working on, the passion project. It's the real ingredients to success. It's in the day-to-day grind. We see the big accomplishments, but when you reverse engineer it back to how somebody got to that success, it was the daily decision. So it's what are the 1 to 3 things today that you can do that will put you in a better, position. And it's just about accepting the reality that we're all in self-isolation. And what is the best thing that we can do? We can focus on this moment. We can learn. We can grow. We can try to develop things that we've wanted to, put our time and energy into. And that could be passion projects or just interests and learn more. Third aspect of benefit of self-isolation would be manifestation, right? Thinking about the future. I was touching a little bit of this, but I stopped because I knew I was going to talk about it here. This could be an overwhelming topic for a lot of people. When you're thinking about the future, you think about where you're going. We think that we have to have it all figured out. We have to know where we're going, because if we don't know where we're going, we're never going to get to X destination. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea, like, truly where I'm going with my life, in the sense of if you ask me where you're going to be in 5 years, I will not give you a perfect to the detail of where I'm going to be. I can generalize and tell you I'm going to be producing content at scale. I'm going to be sharing my voice with the world. I'm going to be helping other creators do that in probably a handful of different ways. But I can't sit here and tell you that I'll be running It's the Bearded Man podcast. I can't tell you that I will be the content producer of Look What I Eat. We don't know, right? We don't know we don't know exactly where we're going to be in 5 years, but we can have these ideas and these visions for where we want to go, which help us make these decisions in the small short term. What helps me become a better creator is knowing that this is the world I want to go. So I'm just going to keep learning things, from podcasting to learning, being behind the lens on a camera, to then learning like the process and flow of editing. All these little things are helping me become a better creator for wherever the world is going to take me next. But I'm not stressed and so worked up thinking about what exactly is that, because I can't tell you where I'll be in 5 years. I absolutely have no idea. But I try to manifest and think about general ideas of what I enjoy. And, I've seen it in my own life where I've manifested things into my reality. And I know that if I can do that with these certain things, I can do it with anything. It's not cockiness, that's confidence. And I promise you right now that if I can do this shit, so can you. It's a lot. It's a constant work in progress, as we've been talking about, constantly learning. And just asking myself, where am I going? Like, do I enjoy the path I'm going? What does my bucket list look like? That could be a magnitude of things. Traveling the world, buying a home in LA, maybe getting a dog someday. That would be pretty dope. Once again, the path of going down into the content world, that I love that. I love knowing that that's kind of where my career is heading, somewhere in the world of content. What are my career goals? To wake up every day and have passion for what I do. Am I doing that right now? Yes. And I like that. I like waking up with some sense of direction, some type of passion. Asking myself the questions of, what are my personal goals? What are my relationship goals? And these are, like I said, these are questions we don't have to have the answers to. We just kind of have to have a little general idea of where we're going, so that when a moment comes and we have to make a decision, we know which way to go. It's a perfect example is when I took this job with Look What I Eat, I wrote out a list of 10 pros and I think the list of 3 cons. And to me, it was a no-brainer. I knew that I was somebody that enjoyed content. I liked sharing my voice with others. I liked helping people bring their visions to life. And so when I looked at that list, I knew that I had to take it. It was do I take this or do I not? And it was an easy yes, because I knew what I enjoyed. And then I knew in the moment, what are the pros, what are the cons? This completely outweighs the pros outweigh the cons. I have to take this. So it allows me to just, this downtime allows me to reflect, as I've talked about, focus on the current moment, but also look forward. Constantly asking myself these tough questions. And this isn't every day. This isn't, every other day. This could be, maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks. Just depends on where my headspace is at. Sometimes I'm asking myself these questions more often than not. But the downtime allows me to ask myself the questions, and that is the super important. My whole thing is like, if I'm shooting for a goal, it's got to be big. So if it seems too easily attainable, I should probably dream bigger. Because if it's easily attainable, I'm not pushing myself. I need to, as the Yes Theory boys, if you guys are familiar with them on YouTube, seek discomfort. That's what we need to do. We need to push ourselves to the edge of our comfort zone to see what our ultimate potential is, to really see, do we have what it takes to become X person, to cross off X goal. Continuously seeking discomfort is extremely important. And so that's exactly what I've been doing with this self-isolation. There's no need to get anxious. There's no right or wrong for like manifesting our dreams into reality, thinking about the future. We get to decide the projection of our life, but we need to calculate, plan, and push towards that destination. Doesn't have to be a perfect blueprint, but we have to have some idea of where we're going. And when you think about the future and reverse engineer how to get there, if you enjoy sports and you enjoy, baseball, think about what is it in baseball that you would love to do. You'd love to be an announcer. So how do you become an announcer? You reverse engineer the steps of how to get there. My best bet or my best advice would be starting a podcast. If your big goal is to start a business, reverse engineer the steps. How does one start a business? They find a passion they love, then they start learning X, Y, and Z. The answers are out there. We just have to go and actually find them. But manifesting is extremely important. Fourth and last part of some of the benefits that I'm finding in self-isolation would be the relaxation. Slowing down. This is extremely, extremely important. And don't get me wrong, I love kicking it with friends, love cracking a couple blue guys with the homies, maybe a bottle of wine, some cheese, some crackers, and just kicking it. But sometimes I'll want to just be alone and be by myself and just allow my body, my mind to just slow down. And whether that's watching Netflix, whether that's listening to music, I know it's beneficial to be a couch potato and just chill out and not worry about anything. And it could be, slowing down and being alone can actually be therapeutic. It can feel so good and it can get a lot of pressure a lot of weight off your shoulders because you don't have anybody asking you any questions. You're not worried about having a conversation with somebody. You're just so cool to just being there by yourself. And sometimes just putting the phone down and not responding to texts and emails and allows your mind to really just think. The relaxation is really, 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 really important. And sometimes being alone isn't my go-to pick of the week relaxation task. It's not always what I want to do, but in a moment like this when we're all stuck to our homes and stuck to our apartments and stuck to wherever we are in the world, I'm okay with it because I can't control it. So I'm just accepting the reality of it and I'm leaning into it and I'm just enjoying it. And that's the thing, right? Is this moment in time, this is literally a ticket to be a bum and be okay with it because you're not allowed to do anything else. So it's the time to literally enjoy yourself and and have no judgment of that. If you want to watch Netflix all day, watch HBO, watch a documentary, watch interviews, whatever tickles your fancy, be okay with it because this is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be following these guidelines. We're supposed to be okay being locked in and not going outside, or maybe going outside but not seeing friends and not kicking it with homies. And this could be for a lot of people, maybe this is the downtime that they've needed. And, when I think about in my past career, it was so hard for me to just slow down because I always knew there was X, Y, and Z to be done. And I know that's a good problem for a lot of people out there that are, working towards amazing goals and they're pushing themselves to the edge. There's always work to be done. So it's so hard to just sit still and relax. But now this is the time to do it. This is the time to just relax. And I was actually talking to Zach Kravitz, who's a fellow creator. I was talking to him a couple days ago, and he was talking about how this was the time. This was a time that he felt uninspired or unmotivated to create. And through our discussion, it seemed like what better time to have that feeling than now when you're not missing out on anything because everyone else is just doing the same. They're just slowed down, they're relaxing, and they're not doing too much. And I think ultimately at some point when we're out of this hump, when we're back to living our lives, we're gonna wish that we had enjoyed this staycation, that we had enjoyed every moment of it, because at some point we're gonna get right back to where we were and people are gonna be back to grinding and we're gonna wish we had the time to relax. So you gotta enjoy it while you can. In closing, can we please just make the best of this quarantine? Can we just make the best of the situation that we are all in right now, that we have no control of? We did not decide to be in quarantine and self-isolation. That's what we're all given. That's the moment. This is what we're dealing with. We can't control it. So can we all just accept it and use the time to, 1, reflect on the past, 2, focus on the passions and self-development on us in this very moment, 3, ask yourself the tough questions about where we are going and manifest these dreams into reality. I don't think there's any dream that is too big, so shoot for the moon, ladies and gentlemen. And lastly, take the time to slow down and relax. I've seen in my own life, rest is so crucial. There's always more work to be done. Take the time to enjoy life for what it is, because this is a game. This is a big experience This life that we live is one experience, and not to be the Debbie Downer, someday it ends. And so I think personally I want to be able to look back and know that I accomplished a lot of my goals, but I also took the time to smell the roses, to enjoy myself, to enjoy the time with family and friends, and not regret that I should have took more time to myself when I didn't. If you enjoy this podcast and you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button below, drop a comment, and let me know what you thought of this podcast. If you are listening on any of the audio podcast apps, please screenshot it, post it to your Instagram, tagging me at Bob-Bay, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. That is how we grow this podcast from the ground up. We're shooting for the moon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys and gals are buckled up and on board. If you really did enjoy it, head to the iTunes podcast app and leave me a 1-sentence review or 1 word, and honestly what you think about it. The reviews help tremendously, and it helps grow this podcast project in a very natural and organic way. And just maybe you will be the selected review of the week for episode 8, right? That'd be pretty cool. Show mom, dad, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your uncle. Well, you can't show them, but you could show them through, Zoom or FaceTime, right? But yeah, that really does help for anyone out there. So if there's any topic you'd like me to cover, please hit me up on all social media platforms at Bob-Bay. And that's it. We're at, day 22, 23 of self-isolation of, how many days to come. I have no idea. But I will promise you this, ladies and gentlemen, while this is happening, the Bearded Man's going to be pumping out that content and hope you guys and gals are finding ways to embrace the time and invest in yourself. Because we'll get back to where we all left off at some point. Let's just enjoy the ride until we get there. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's your favorite and the world's favorite bearded man, Bob-Bay. We'll catch you guys and gals next time. See ya!